Good Friday morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the News You Trust studio, sponsored by the Grand Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution. I'm Joe Everett. Well, currently 39 degrees outside this morning, and it looks like it's going to be a nice sunny day to get some work done around the farm, but that might change as we get later into the weekend. We'll have a full forecast update for you shortly. But now let's check in with Dave Russell for this week's Fall Agronomy Update.
This week on the Pioneer Fall Agronomy Update, Pioneer Field Agronomist Troy Putnam in southern and central Ohio says 2024 has been, shall we say, interesting.
But as we start to rationalize through this, what they've dealt with, I think we have to fall back and revisit the products that we chose for this year. And depending on how it went, we'll probably use some very similar packages. The products, the hybrids, the varieties. Dave, I'll tell you one thing. These aren't the products of 10 or 12 years ago. I would have not wanted to face this growing season with an older hybrid or an older variety and dealt with the stress that we saw.
And as we turn our attention to 2025,
if you're not sure what to do and you do have a current soil test that you can trust and you're trying to decide which amendments to use, I always recommend adjusting pH first to where it needs to be, because when the pH is good, everything's better. And Dave, the two other things that this growing season has without question validated one more time: early planted soybeans pay, and sulfur on corn and soybeans are always a good investment. So we're going to take some of those buttons as we plan for next year and know that they're going to be probably non-negotiable as we think about production.
For my complete interview with Pioneer Field Agronomist Troy Putnam, go to ohioagnet.com and go to featured audio. I'm Dave Russell.
Hey, thanks, Dave. Well, 2 Ohio counties have been declared a primary natural disaster area due to drought, with additional counties also being eligible in Ohio as contiguous counties. This national disaster designation allows the United States Department of Agriculture Farm Service Agency to extend much-needed emergency credits to farm operators in primary counties and contiguous counties throughout the FSA Emergency Loan Assistance Program. Emergency loans can be used to meet various recovery needs, including the replacement of essential items such as equipment or livestock, reorganization of the farming operation, or to refinance certain debts. FSA will review the loans based on the extent of the losses, security available, and repayment ability. The deadline for producers in designated primary and contiguous counties to apply for loans is July 7th of 2025. The 2 primary counties are Ottawa and Wood counties, and the contiguous counties are Erie, Hancock, Henry, Lucas, Putnam, Sandusky, and Seneca counties. Stay tuned. We'll be back to take a look at today's weather after this.
Hi, everyone. This is Dale Minio from the Ohio AgNet. For a quarter of a century, I powered my truck with biodiesel, traveling the state promoting agriculture. Biodiesel is a reliable, high-performance fuel that works in any diesel engine without modification. The best part is that with every mile driven, I'm fueling the economy, doing good for the environment, and supporting soybean farmers. Learn how using biodiesel can add value to every bushel of soybeans grown at soyohio.org.
Since 1926, Nationwide has been rooted in agriculture. Founded as the Farm Bureau Mutual Automobile Insurance Company with a mission to protect farmers and their communities, we honor our legacy by offering solutions that evolve with the complex needs of today's farms. As the leading insurer of America's farms and trusted by 8 farm bureaus for 100 years and counting, Nationwide is on your side. Number 1 insurer based on 2023 direct written premium per AM Best. Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
Now let's take a look at today's weather, and as we head into the weekend, brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Here's the forecast.
Beautiful weather to finish out the week here in Ohio. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin with a look at the Ohio Ag Weather Outlook. As we step forward here, we're seeing sunshine dominate for your Friday, and Saturday looks pretty nice in all areas as well. May see clouds increasing late Saturday afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, but I don't think it's going to be anything that causes major problems. We do see moisture trying to work through the state of Ohio through the day on Sunday. Scattered showers, maybe even a rumble of thunder. I think we end up with 80% coverage with rain totals at 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch. So decent moisture, but it's done by late afternoon and evening Sunday, and then we move into a dry start to next week. Monday, Tuesday, partly to mostly sunny, warm and dry. Wednesday starts with sunshine, clouds increasing in the afternoon. Scattered showers and thunderstorms move through overnight with a frontal boundary into early Thursday. I'm going to say right now 1/4 to 1 inch of precipitation with 100% coverage. Behind that, we initially see a shot of cool air for right away Thursday morning to midday, but then it eases pretty quick as winds turn more westerly, and we spend the rest of next week normal to above normal. That's a look at your forecast update. Have a great weekend. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Well, September U.S. pork and beef exports were higher year over year, according to the data from the USDA compiled by its U.S. Meat Export Federation. Pork exports are well positioned to set annual volume and value records in 2024. September pork exports totaled 238,047 metric tons, up 8% from last year, while value climbed 6% to $685 million. Pork exports through September were on a record pace to Mexico, as are shipments to Central America, Colombia, and several Caribbean markets. Through the first 3 quarters of the year, pork exports were 5% above last year's pace at 2.3 million metric tons, with the value 7% higher at $6.36 billion. U.S. beef exports reached 103,980 metric tons in September, up 5 percentage points year over year, while export values rose 6% to $843.8 million. January through September exports increased 5% in value to $7.82 billion. Well, speculation has already begun on who the next Secretary of Agriculture will be when Donald Trump returns to the White House in January. Successful Farming says Texas Ag Commissioner Sid Miller, former Ambassador Kip Tom, and Ted McKinney of NASDA are among a handful of people viewed as potential nominees to run for the Department of Agriculture. Incoming presidents typically try to announce their nominees before the year-end holidays, although Trump didn't announce Sonny Perdue to lead the USDA until 2 days before his inauguration. Miller was initially mentioned for the USDA after Trump won his first term. Tom was the U.S. ambassador to the UN agencies for food and agriculture in Rome during his first term. McKinney, the undersecretary for trade in the first administration, is now the CEO of National Association of State Departments of Agriculture. North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum has also been mentioned because his term expires in December. Now let's check in for an update from Joel Penorwood.
Our guest, Roger High with the Ohio Sheep Improvement Association on the Ohio AgNet. And Roger, thanks for being here. We catch up with you here and right at the start of November, as we know, in just about a month is the 2024 Buckeye Shepherd Symposium, a highlight for the sheep industry every year. Let's talk about what folks need to know in this important time to get registered.
Well, we got lots of events going on at December 6th and 7th. Starting off with a short tour of the OARD small ruminant facility in Worcester, but really excited about celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Ohio Sheep Improvement Association and the 35th anniversary of the Ohio Sheep and Wool Program. We're doing that Friday evening, December 6th, at OARDC Worcester. We're going to have a wonderful lamb dinner. We've written a keepsake book that all of the participants will get. Really looking forward to that event. Saturday morning, start off at 8 o'clock with the 75th OSI annual meeting at the Schisler Center, and then follow that up with some really good programming, we think, with the Buckeye Shepherd Symposium from about 9 to 4:30, and wrap that up with the Young Shepherds Assembly. The Young Shepherds Assembly is putting together a really nice tour of a sheep operation, and then having dinner on their way back from that.
And learn more about that topic and many others at the upcoming 2024 Buckeye Shepherd Symposium, December 6th and 7th, up in Worcester, Ohio. And learn more at ohiosheep.org. That's Roger High of the Ohio Sheep Improvement Association joining us on the Ohio AgNet.
Hey, thanks, Joel. Well, the University of Illinois analysts look into the future of renewable diesel production in the United States and saw some headwinds. Renewable diesel production capacity has exploded in recent years, increasing by more than 3 billion gallons. This substantially impacted fats and oils feedstock markets. However, the profitability of renewable diesel has taken a hit in the last year. The industry began to produce at levels greater than the demand ceiling set by annual renewable volume obligations under the Renewable Fuel Standard. FarmDoc Daily says that the bloom is off the renewable diesel boom that began in 2021. There's a list of announced building projects that could add substantial production capacity in the future. However, none of these projects have broken ground or started construction. What were some of the major ag trade trends during the 2024 fiscal year? Gary Crawford from the USDA has more.
We now have the complete ag export numbers for fiscal year 2024, which ended September 30th. Total export sales, $174.4 billion, a bit better than had been predicted, but USDA economist Bart Kenner says export values were still down 2% from the year before.
We saw a lot of competition globally for our bulk products and decreasing unit values for those products. And so while we exported quite a bit, we received less money for those exports. And so we saw values go down.
Meanwhile, imports of foreign ag products grew by 6%, creating an ag trade deficit of almost $32 billion. So that was 2024. As for 25, Bart Kenner says some analysts are already predicting
more of the same.
But we'll see what USDA analysts think when they release their forecast Thanksgiving week. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Hey, thanks, Gary, for that update. Stay tuned. We'll be back to take a look at your grain analysis and your overnight markets after this.
Whether you're in the fields or on the farm, creating a safer work environment has never been easier. BWC's safety consulting services are included with your policy premiums and offer training and education for everyone in your farming operation. It's always the right time to make safety a priority. Visit bwc.ohio.gov or call 1-800-644-6292. The Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation, here to help you work safely.
It's now time for the Louis Dreyfus Grain Analysis, and that is brought to you by the Ohio Soybean Council and your Soybean Checkoff. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets finished a Thursday on a mixed note overall. Corn up just a couple of pennies. Beans near the highs of the day, up 21 to 23 cents. Soybean meal and oil were both stronger. Oil up on huge export sales. We'll talk about that in a bit. The wheat markets did not participate. They were a little lower overall. So what were the talking points on the market yesterday? Well, let's start with soy oil. I already teased that a little bit. Large U.S. export sales, significantly large. Some of them were ones we knew about, but then there were a whole host of others that we did not know about that came into the soy complex. On top of that, we also saw the Fed cutting interest rates, kind of an awkward cut in the interest rate because the election just got done, and many think that interest rates are going to have a hard time being cut more, given some of the talking points on the economy that are going to be had here in the next days and weeks ahead as we transition into a new administration. But it was kind of interesting. Weekly export sales report numbers were good on corn and beans. They were expected to be good, though. Actually, we were down about 10% from last week on beans, but up 10% over the prior 4-week average. Corn numbers were known to be good because of flash reported sales this week. As we take a look at other stories, speaking of flash sales, 120,000 metric tons of corn to unknown buyer. We suspect that buyer is probably Mexico or maybe Japan. 6.4 million metric tons of U.S. corn is sold so far to an unknown buyer. Speculation has been the buyer Mexico or maybe the EU. I guess it doesn't matter, but we are ahead of the pace. And with all the talk of potentially tariffs coming after the turn of the year, we will not be surprised if we see an increase in export buying pace here overall. Those were the talking points yesterday. A little short covering in the beans as well. I'm Ryan Martin.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Now let's take a look at your overnight markets, brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. Well, things a little mixed in the overnight trade. Let's start off with December corn, $427.5, unchanged. March corn, $440 3/4, up a quarter. November soybeans, $10.08 3/4, down 6 3/4. January soybeans, $10.20 3/4, down 5.5. December wheat, $5.72 3/4, up 1 1/4. Looking at livestock from yesterday's close, December live cattle $185.82, up 42 cents. February live cattle $187.42, up 70 cents. December lean hogs $81.20, down 92 cents. February lean hogs 85.30, up 15 cents. January feeder cattle 244.32, up 30 cents. Have a great day, everyone. This is the Ohio AgNet.